Morning, good evening. Welcome to CEIBS Knowledge Meets Management webinar series. My name is Rob Straw. I'm the CEO of the Zurich campus here in Horgen, Switzerland. CEIBS is committed to act as a bridge between China and Europe, and this is one of the ways that we do this. Our presence in Europe was cemented back in 2015 when we established the campus here in Horgen. The title of today's webinar is A Catalyst for Growth, the Future of Manufacturing. In this exciting webinar, CEIBS Associate Professor of Operations, Chao Liang, will share her most recent research on how manufacturers in China are transitioning from traditional to smart or intelligent manufacturing using some real-world examples. She will be joined by ABB Process Industries Digital Program Manager, Guillaume Carnaille, who will showcase how ABB are helping customers move towards autonomous manufacturing and integrate the use of AR/VR into traditional industries. Welcome to you both. Professor Liang's research, she's concentrating on the interdisciplinary studies of operations management and marketing, behavior operations management, and supply chain management. All of these topics are very complex by themselves, and when we combine them, that's how we get to the real world in her research. Her studies focus on how customer behavior influences product rollover, innovation, inventory storage location, pricing decisions, and more. She received her Ph.D. in operations management from the University of Texas at Dallas. Guillaume Carnaille is a world citizen with a passion for technology and sustainability. His curiosity, coupled with a dual background in manufacturing, engineering, and international business, have led him to drive digital transformations across functions in many industries. In his current role at ABB, he relies on more than 10 years of experience in project management and change management to help customers deliver their digital roadmap in terms of financial value, as well as contribution to a net zero future. I turn the word over to you, Professor. You're on mute.
Okay.
There we go. That's better. Thank you.
Okay, then I will share my slides here.
Great.
Okay. Yeah. So the topic today I will going to go through is about how to transition from conventional to smart manufacturing, and I will use a company that's my idea. There's a manufacturing company in China as an example. Okay, you can see here. First, let's take a look at the manufacturing in China. We all know China actually is a big country in terms of manufacturing, in terms of quantity, output quantity, and also in terms of product variety. Okay, in terms of the quantity and also variety, China is a big country in terms in manufacturing. But if you look at the quality, you will see that's a different story. Some people said China is the factory of the world. Okay, we are the factory of the world, but who built the factory for China? And it's Germany. That's because many manufacturing in China buy the equipment from Germany and build up the factory, and this is why we call. This is why they say that. Okay, so which means in terms of quality, in terms of high tech part, high segmentation part, okay, of the manufacturing, China actually is weak on that. Also, there is an unbalanced development among all the manufacturing in China. Some companies are in a very advanced part. They are in industry 3.0 or a little bit above industry 4.0 along industry 3.5 or yeah, whatever. And also we also see many manufacturing companies, especially these small and medium manufacturing companies. They are like, if you rank them, it's like the industry 1.0 or industry 2.0. So it's highly unbalanced. Okay, so if you look at this number, you can see this is the performance change of these publicly listed companies in China. Okay, you can see here. In terms of the, you see if in terms of operating revenue growth rate, okay, in terms of operating margin annual change, obviously you can see here, most of time you can see this operating margin annual change is negative. And if you look at this return on equity, you'll see also is going down. Okay, and this is why there is slightly increase there. Is because the Chinese government give a jump. Okay, give a jump. So which is why the whole industry gets increased a little bit. But this from the outside jump is not from the internal. Okay, it's not really sustainable. So and we want to have this internal sustainable factors to help with that. When we look at this trend, there is one company, that's the company we want to discuss today. That's the main idea. This company actually beat the trend, okay? We also beat the trend. And we will see what this company did, how they beat the trend, okay? You see here, main idea in Chinese, Midea. You see, this is a big company. In terms of the product, you can see here in this year is the Fortune Global 500 companies. Is the ranking is 245. This is a big company, and the operating revenue mainly divided into can divide into three parts. First is about the biggest part actually is about the consumer electronics, like the refrigerator, washing machine, like the home appliance, all these things. Okay, if you look at the ranking, you will see in China, in all the major home appliances like refrigerator, washing machine, and air conditioner is the #1 or #2 companies in China. And the second part is of the HVAC. That is the heating and air conditioning to the building system. Okay, this is the building system, and also it have the small part. It just started. It's a small part about robotics and automation system. And you can look at this. This company started from 50 years ago. It's a startup, and then about 13 years after he started the company, they become a newcomer of this home appliance in the field of household appliance. And then they developed in terms of scale, they quickly developed the scale and also merge and acquisition, and they built up, you can see here, it built up this kind of factories overseas and also merge and acquisition. And starting from 2011, they have this kind of transformation from the traditional manufacturing to the digital or the smart manufacturing. And this is the main focus of today's talk. Let's quickly take a look. Let's quickly take a look at what did this company do. See, before that, you can see here, I quickly show you this the effectiveness of transformation. I'll show you it start this kind of transformation from 2011, and after the first stage of this kind of transformation, you can see in terms of operating revenue just a little bit increased, but in terms of net profit, I mean almost double. And also if you look at the number of workers, you can see he reduced almost half of the number of workers. Let's take a look at what did they do. You see here, this company mainly did three things. First is about the product leadership. Second is efficiency driven, that improved efficiency in the factory. And the third is about the global operations. First, let's take a look at the product leadership. You can see here, because of the merge and acquisition, because it keep increasing in the past 20 or 30 years, this company has a lot of product modules, as high as 22,000 number of product modules, and many of them has very thin margin, and also they don't really earn money. So the first thing this company do is to cut number of these product modules. When you find this thing, the product modules are with low profit margin, or they don't really have this sales potential, yeah, they just cut it. Okay, so you reduce from 22,000 to around 2,000. Okay, he cut 90% of product module. Okay, they keep the most promising one, and also it keep increasing in RMD. You can see here, this is the number for RMD. Can starting from 2012, keep increasing that. Okay. In terms of the number of file patent, this company ran the top 10 in China and first among the whole home appliance company around the world. Okay. This is the first. The second thing, you improve the efficiency. And in this part, the first thing this company do is to restructure the IT system, because the merger and acquisition, because the expansion, they have different set of this IT system. Okay, when he merge or when he set up new company, so they usually have a new IT system. So these IT systems are not integrated. Okay, are not integrated. So if you are the manager, you in the head. You are the manager. You are the if you want to check the number, from one BU to another BU, from one factory to another factory. You cannot do that, okay? Because they from different systems. They have, so you don't really, even you have this kind of, you have IT system, you don't really know what happened. You cannot integrate the data from different systems. You cannot integrate the information from different systems. So the first thing they did is to do this kind of integration. So they want to have one main idea, one system, one standard. So they want to integrate everything together. If you are the your manager, so you can easily check, compare to integrate, you combine all the data together, so the information is transparent among the group, which means then when something happens, you know, you really know what happened there, right? So this is the first thing. I feel this is the very, very important part of this kind of transformation. And the second part, they build this intelligent manufacturing. They, you know, this is the traditional company. So they invest a lot for the automation. And now the automation rate is around 70%. And the national average is around 8%, so much higher than the average. And also the production efficiency increased 50%. And also you can see that they close because the capacity increased. Okay, because the capacity increased, so they can produce more efficiently. They close some factories. Okay, some factories, they don't need that much. And also the operating revenue per worker increased 90%, almost double. Okay, so they improved this kind of efficiency, production efficiency. And if we look at detail, you will see first they want to collect the data from the production line. You can see for each production line, they actually have this kind of sensor. You can look more clearly here. They have this Kanban on the spot. Okay, so for each production line, you can really see what happened there real time. Okay, real time. And then they also have the central office for each factory. So you can see what happened around the whole country. If something along the whole factory, if something expected to happen, you can easily, you can find someone to handle it, and you can how to mitigate the impact of this unexpected event. Okay. Also, they have this APP for the manager level. So if you are the manager and you in charge, even you don't in charge of the factory, or in charge or don't in charge, you want to look at what happened in the factory, to see what happening. Even you are not in the factory, you are in a business trip, you through the app, you know what happened here. Okay, you can see the number. You have the real-time information also. By doing that, they have this kind of transparent production, and they also have the vertical integration. On top of the vertical integration, okay, from the manager to the factory, they also have the horizontal integration, that is supply management. Okay, so they have the SaaS system. They have the SaaS system they use to manage the supplier, so they know what's happening on the supplier side. Okay, whether their order are ready, so they can prepare in advance. And they also have the horizontal integration on the distributor manager side. Okay, so they reduce the channel inventory. They make sure the supply chain is transparent. Okay, the distributor don't stock too much in their warehouse. Also, they coordinate the inventory sharing among distributors. And also they have this end-to-end integration because they sell the product through the distributor. So they, most cases they don't really sell directly to the consumer. But you know, in nowadays you really want to have this D2C, direct to consumer. So they have this sensor. They install this sensor in their product, with which they know really what happened. They know really what happened. In the machine, like if there is something wrong with the air conditioner, they can figure out what happened. They can approach, they can contact with their consumer directly with that product kind of correct consumer information. With all these measurements, they already decrease the days from 23 days. That is from first you place the order to the order ready for shipment. That the interval, the time, they already decreased from 23 days to 12 days. So okay, they cut almost half of the time. Okay, so they have quicker response to market need. Okay, because you reduce the response time. And the third thing they did is about the global operation. If you look at this percentage overseas operating revenue, you can see here, around 40% of their revenue is from the overseas market. So they in the overseas market, actually they do some merge and acquisition, and this is how they merge with the KUKA, acquire KUKA actually. So they enter the robotics market, okay? And also you can see this kind of merger and acquisition event. By doing all these things, they increase their presence in the overseas market. Now take a look the effectiveness of this measurement. You see, if you look at this inventory turnover rate, you can see now they have much higher inventory turnover rate. So which means they can move faster, okay, be more responsive to customer needs. And also if you look at the operating cycle trend, you can see overall decrease, okay. So again, move fast, okay, they have a quicker response to the market need, okay. And also if you look at the gross margin, you can see increase, also keep increasing, which means their product overall is more competitive in the market. And also you can see here, you can see this about the revenue, okay. This, you remember this the year you can see it here, revenue increasing. Also you can see this, the net profit also keep increasing, okay, you can see. So this is what we discussed is the first stage of this kind of transformation. And starting from 2017, they have a new journey for transformation upgrading. They have the new strategic position. They said, oh, hey, we are not going, we set the company as a global leading technology group in consumer electronics, HVAC, robotics, and automation system, and smart supply chain. Okay, so they developed, you can see the AI part, the robotics part, and also the industry internet part. You can see here, now they developed the smart home, the smart, they have this new product, of course. Okay, they become smart, more intelligent, and they invest more in the industry automation and robotics part. China is the biggest market, okay, for the industrial robotics. Okay, so this company, Midea, use a lot of industrial robotics, but at the same time, they want to become a supplier, become a manufacturer of this industrial robotics. Also, it has this kind of servitization. Okay, they not only provide this kind of consumer electronics to consumers, but also provide a service to small and medium companies. Now they have the overall solution for company digitalization or company upgrading. They provide not only the hardware but also the software based on the product they have. Okay, also based on the industry internet we just mentioned. They call it May Cloud, 美云智数. Okay, they have the KUKA, there's the robotics. They have also have the logistic companies, and also they have the Midea. So they can provide overall solution to the small and medium companies. In a quick summary, you can see if you look at the Midea, what they do in the past years, you will see they first do this subtraction, then do the addition. That's first. They reduce the scale. They remove the product with poor operation. They actually return the land to the government because they don't need it anymore. They want to focus on the develop quality. Okay, not really about the quantity, not only about the scale, but the quality. Okay, they want to make it more sustainable way. Okay, make it sustainable way. And also after they do all this subtraction, they do the addition. That is, they invest more in the technology. They have the global business, they expand the global business, then they get into the new business also, like the robotics, like the servitization, like the industry internet. Okay, starting providing the service. Okay, so that's it. I think that's the last slides of my talk.
Sorry, thank you. It's very exciting to hear your deep analysis about this company. Before we get into some questions, though, I'd like to turn it over to Guillaume from ABB and hear about some of his work at ABB and ABB's work specifically in the space. Guillaume?
Yeah, thanks. And a warm welcome to the audience from my side. Thank you to CEIBS for giving the opportunity. And while we're figuring out the technology, my name is Guillaume Carnaille. I'm French, as you can hear from my lovely accent that doesn't go away. Although I've spent 40% of my life now abroad. I'm a husband and a father, and my passion is around really making customers successful, especially when it's linked to a contribution to net zero. And from a personal side, also about being in the mountain, so climbing as well. My fingers here are showing this. And also I'm a diver. In the next 20 minutes, what can you expect? So we'll start slowly by essentially putting the scene with some background information about ABB Group, for those who don't know us, and more specifically about the division I'm working for, Process Industries. Then we'll continue with what actually digital means, so that we have a common definition. There are so many of them out there. And we'll then transition to the big topic. So how to make bigger moves towards autonomous manufacturing and integrating the use of AR, VR, augmented and virtual reality into traditional industries. All right, so ABB, together with predecessors companies, we have a history of more than 130 years of innovation. So it's really part of our DNA to kind of have this innovation, and this started really from this new technology that we leverage, which was called electricity. Since then, obviously, a lot of change, and now our solution includes everything around digitalization, robotics, and automation, and we're really helping the society and many industries transforming for a more productive and sustainable future. Few words, I'm an engineer, so we cannot go without on with numbers. So we're a global company, 26 billion revenue. We are operating in 100+ countries. Obviously, China is one of our big markets. We have R&D facilities, manufacturing facilities there, on top of very strong sales and service workforce. We're among the market leaders in electrification business. I think segments like smart buildings, e-mobility, or conversion. We're also among leaders and top 3 in robotics and motor and drives. And last, we are leaders in process automations in industries such as energy industries, process industries, obviously, which I'm going to discuss more in a minute, and marine and ports. So now you know ABB a little bit more. Let's cover process industries. My 4,000 colleagues are covering many different segments in more than 50 countries. So you can see the top 6 here: aluminum, metal, cement, mining, printing, pulp and paper. Very traditional industries in a way, very old industries, but with a lot of potential when it comes to automation and digitalization. The bottom 3, and these are continuous process, as we call them. So it means you really don't want these process to actually stop, otherwise it gets very costly. The bottom 3 are food and bev, battery manufacturing, data centers. They're really a growth industry. We call them hybrid industry. It's kind of in between a continuous process and batch process. And actually, we expand in things we will not have talked about, such as jean manufacturing, since we realize that the underlying process to produce a jeans fabric is very similar to paper making. All right, so enough about ABB. You're not here to hear about this great company, although I could talk hours about it. I'm very happy employee there. I really like the sense of purpose of ABB. What is digital now? So let's straight transition. There are lots of buzzword around it, right? So this kind of typical slides: integrated, new business model, value, autonomous, which is the topic of today, ecosystem, collaboration. What we like is a little bit cut through this jargon and talk with normal words. So what digital means for us, it connects data, connects with environment and people. It just tells things, right? So it's this end-to-end visibility Professor Chao was also mentioning, the mobility and really the remote support we'll discuss a little bit more in a few minutes. It adapts. So that's around this flexibility so that we cater different customer needs and then move slowly from semi to fully autonomous operations. And it knows. So pattern recognition, advanced analytics, how to drive sustainable operations, really thinking, as Professor Chao was mentioning, this layer of artificial intelligence. So all of this really for our customers to run better operations. And now we have essentially aligned on kind of a common definition there. Let's move really to the topic of the webinar. So the future of manufacturing. What we see is it's more autonomous operations and also increased remote collaboration. And the time is ripe, right? I mean, this picture is not a fake one. This is actually the type of control centers we are delivering to our customers across the globe. Professor Chao also had a similar picture for the company she was presenting. But let's face it, it's this change to autonomous operation will not happen overnight, because the reality is most of the heavy industries, as I was mentioning before, so cement, paper, mining, they are only in the middle stage of their digital maturity, meaning they are still leveraging technologies which were existing in the 1890s. So really connecting only within a site, but not taking full advantage of all these advanced analytics, collaborative technology that we now have, and now even less putting some level of AI on top of the operations. The bad news is it's not that easy. So because the promising opportunities for customers is not just going to be realized through some package IT solution and just more data. Yeah, data, it's maybe the common bias. It's not the problem. Data we have so much of, we don't even know what to do with it. Our research shows that 73% of available data in a company is actually not used. 73%. And at the same time, leaders in the research we have done are telling us that for analytics projects, 80% of the time is spent on data integration. So while data is not the issue as such, this making sense of the data is really the key. So how you contextualize the data, how you make it prepared in a way that makes sense for the customer industry and the customer specific reality. And that's really why, in the end of the day, what this picture is showing is we need to get our hand dirty to really understand the underlying processes, and most importantly, the people who actually run these processes. That for me is the last piece of the puzzle on how to drive digital transformation is the people, right? And I can speak from my experience as a change manager. You know, it's not sufficient just to have a great idea. You actually need, as leaders, to bring the people on board of your transformation journey. Show the people impacted by this change what's in it for them, and really link that to the bigger picture. So how that connects to your company bigger purpose, goal, strategy. Because at the end of the day, let's be humble as software providers. We can build the best software in the world, but if nobody is using it, then there is no value in it. All right, so I cannot see your faces, but maybe you're wondering, okay, how that all connects now, what I'm explaining, what is digital, the story about change management. So let's connect the dots. So Professor Chao really explained in a case that the digital transformation, it's multi-year process with multiple steps involved. In my previous section, I showed that digital transformation doesn't always mean the same for different customers, partly because they are in different stage in their digital maturity. And it's also more complicated than just buying a fancy piece of technology or software. So let's be honest, for many companies out there, it's not easy to know which direction to take. And that's why we like using this analogy with the lighthouse. So today, you're in a big ship, you have multiple ways of actually knowing where to go. So from radar, maps, GPS, but you are still using, or these ships are still using a lighthouse for the overall direction. And I think that's how we see us at ABB, is being the lighthouse for customers. So we help them define the roadmap, the overall direction that they should take to solve their specific problems. And as one of our, the CEO of one of our customers coins, I really love this one, is collaboration is a new leadership, meaning it's not just one company solving all the problem by itself. We need to work together. And while we co-develop with our customers some solutions, there are already a lot of offering out there that are addressing the different needs in the markets. And sometimes so many that it's a little bit intimidating maybe or confusing. So we like to break them into these 6 families. So very briefly here, operational excellence is all about this operation, this visibility end-to-end for a specific industry value chain. Process performance, it's about improving throughput, quality, and reduce variability. Asset performance, think about how to increase the uptime of the equipment and also reducing maintenance cost. Sustainability maybe is the most obvious one. It's all about reducing the amount of resource, energy costs that you need to run your processes, and also do all the requirement around the reporting. Connected workforce, this is around making the knowledge retention, enabling the knowledge retention, as well as putting the workers out of dangerous places. And all of this is essentially surrounded by this layer of cybersecurity. Now let's move to more concrete examples. I will go through two customer examples, and then I am going to deep dive a little bit more on this AR, VR topic, so augmented and virtual reality. So here on the screen, you can see an example of a mining customer in Australia, and this is where we connected more than 6,000 assets, so instrumentation, control system, automation system together, and we provided a visual interface, so things this control room type of setup for the process engineers to make sense of this data and really have everything he or she needs to make the right decision at the right time on these assets. So for instance, when to plan for a proactive maintenance based on alarms rather than waiting until the motor or the drive is breaking up and the operation stops, which would be very costly. And the result you can see at the bottom there, how that translates into concrete man-hour savings, money, and increased throughput. The second example is from a pulp and paper customer. And here, what I like is you can really see, even visually here, this digital maturity roadmap evolving. So we started similar to the previous example, connecting sensor with asset monitoring technology. And then we added the layer of process performance. So advanced process controls, APC, and sheet breaks. Now, sheet break, think about this. It's really the worst nightmare for a paper maker. Try to remember the last time you had a paper jam in your printer at home or in the office. Now you make this piece of paper 80 kilometers long. I think you get the picture. So you don't want this paper sheet to break. So when you achieve a 25% reduction of this kind of events, this is really life-saving and money-saving for the customers. And the last piece that our customer decided to add on the operation is a little bit similar to the previous case from the Professor Chao, is around having an enterprise level manufacturing execution system that help them connect all these data together, having more transparency. And this transparency in turn, it helps seeing the operation in a different way, which means you can make even more detailed and advanced analytic on this data and defining even the next level of optimization. So you see that's kind of the virtuous cycle that we want our customers to achieve. All right, so now what we call under this connected workforce umbrella, AR, VR. So while VR, virtual reality, is kind of creating a virtual, like a bubble, like in a video game around the user, AR, augmented reality, is, let's say, creates kind of an illusion as if the virtual objects coexisted in the virtual world. So simply put, it allows to put the operational information in a very effective way in front of the users. It's kind of becoming a digital assistant. We're getting used to this, right? I mean, in sports, we start seeing this AR overlay, soccer, cricket, motor races, where you can see plays information, speed, game time, and so on. In the example I chose here on the screen, this is what you can see when you watch Formula E race, so this all-electric racing series sponsored by ABB. And here I find really amazing that you can see real time the speeds, how the driver is braking, accelerating, the change of gears, and the G-force he has to absorb. Now, what we see is also, and as you could see on the previous page, essentially, what is very important with AR is making very simple for the users to make sense of the information, make it relevant, and make it very, very clear. So that's why now we are seeing really traction in our industries, and why there is more and more adoption for these more like traditional industries. is because our customers do see value. And that's coming from a few things. Number one is the headset technology is getting more mature and it's now adapted to the harsh environment. So think super high temperature, moisture, noise. Second is where there are two really big trends that are happening right now. First, most of our customers, if not all, they have ESG commitments so that they have to, around safety, to remove their workforce from from dangerous environments. Think mining, underground mining, very hot steel melt shops. And they have a big headache these days, which is a knowledge retention issue. Their workforce is aging, meaning getting closer to their retiring time. And these people, they have 20, 30 years of experience, but the knowledge is in the head. So now the challenge is, how do our customer extract the knowledge to say and put it in a repository that is easy for people to access to, and B, when we think about the new generation, they don't want to actually spend 20 years in their job, maybe 2 or 3. And then how do you, for these people, how do you make the knowledge accessible in the right time so that they can make the right decision easily? And a side note, I challenge everybody who is in contact with kids in this call to kind of explain what is a landline phone. So this device that is connected to a wire where you can only talk within a confined space without video. So if you know anybody under 10, I think they will be looking at you like, what's the purpose of this thing? And the point I'm making here is this new generation, we really need to understand them in terms of how we provide them this knowledge. Meaning mobility is absolutely key, and video integration is also critical. And that's why now the AR, VR technology is enabling this, and this is why we are seeing traction. So concrete customer example now, 2 of them. One mining customer in Australia, we had essentially developed for them complete 3D modeling of their most critical equipment, including the gearless mill drive. This GMD was a big piece of equipment here at the top of the slide there. Each component of the GMD had a 3D model with all information on parts for reordering, operation maintenance documentation, a precise location of the instrumentation, as well as electrical schematics. My colleague in Sweden, that we can see here on the left, then had access to this virtual environment, and he was able to kind of assess the problem remotely. And then he collaborated with the engineer on site in Australia, who, thanks to his headset, was able to see all these AR overlays with all the information from the virtual model and solve the issue remotely together. Result you can see on the red box. And that's really the power of this new technology today. Very, very powerful way of solving issues remotely, meaning you don't have to have expert with 20 years of experience in every single site. You can rely on a few experts within the company or even within suppliers remotely.
Got about 2 minutes.
Yes, perfect timing. So I think here, the last example I want to bring is in not too distant future. So what we see on the screen now is mixed reality. So now yet another terminology. So it's kind of a hybrid between virtual and augmented reality. Think about it, as you can see, it's a kind of a hologram to be placed that can be placed in the physical world. And there you can see all the information showing temperature, rotation, speed control systems. And with this technology, again, we think that will bring remote collaboration to the next level. So it make it even more real. And these people here in the control room will be able to touch, to feel better what's happening on site in the factory, and therefore make better decision. Closing, before moving to the Q&A, 3 points I would like the audience to bring home today. 1, smart manufacturing and all this technology we touch, like AR, VR, are more than buzzwords. They need to be anchored in reality. They need to be based, when you decide as a company to go through this transformation, it needs to be based on the use case, a business case, value generation, and with the mindset of augmenting human capabilities. In the end of the day, it's all about how people will use technology. Two, it's a journey. I think Professor Chao Liang made that also very clear. It's a multi-step process, and that's why ABB is taking a consulting approach to help customers achieve their goals of removing workforce from hazardous environments, as well as driving their sustainability commitment. And last, three, I hope I was able to prove that the technology exists today. It's not 5, 10, 20 years in the future. We have solutions to tackle these issues as we speak. And with that message, I hand it over to Dr. Stroh for the Q&A.
Thank you both very much. I'm reminded of our discussions that we had here on campus on the weekend about the future of work, where humans' ability to understand change is linear. And yet the technology, as your last slide says, the technology is there, and the technology is increasing exponentially. We see this gap where literally in some industries, it's almost surreal. The technology is so far beyond what we can even comprehend. When we look at this mixed reality, I would guess out of your 105,000 employees, maybe 5,000 understand, can comprehend what that might look like, right?
Yeah.
How do you, when we're thinking smarter and smarter and smarter, which makes sense, how do we get the people side to keep moving with it? And that's for both of you. Maybe Professor, maybe you could give your insights first. How do you make sure that the people get pulled along with the technological changes that we're experiencing today?
Actually, I do see some company, they have this kind of training, because in China, many of the workers, they don't really have very high level of education. So the company, you really need to help them. So start little by little. You start with the middle level manager. Then you help them with willing to use this kind of company, because some people think, hey, I will use this kind of automation, then they will replace me, right? I will lose my job. So in this case, you need to give you want to make sure. Indeed, there's some case because when you have more efficiency, you need fewer workers. But the company need to convey the information to his employee, the workers, that they will find another position within the company. They will help them, they check them, because when you have this new technology, we don't have, maybe we lose some, we will reduce some number of jobs in this one side, but on the other side, we will have the new open positions. And because you are within the company, you will have this priority to first fill in that position, and we will help you to do that. That's a long journey, but I think that's necessary.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I think maybe 2 points from my side. I think first one is, don't only think technology. That may be funny from a technology company like ABB, but I think this is a common mistake. I really fully agree with you, Professor Chao Liang. We need to see a business case. We need to see a real value, and just starting with technology is just doesn't cut it. If I take a very trivial example, maybe some customers will come to us and say, I like a red Ferrari, or I like a purple Lamborghini. Okay, so actually, what is the underlying need that you have? Probably is go from point A to point B. Then we can discuss parameters. Is it speed the most important? Efficiency, reduce emissions. Then this why we call this kind of discovery session with the customer, defining what is the underlying need, and only then we build on what's the right technology. Otherwise, we might start way too big, and that's how essentially 80%. That's kind of the number you will see of the customer of the transformation fail. And the second one is start small and involve the right people. So I fully agree, Professor Chao Liang, as well. So it's really about who are the people who are, your change catalyst, your change champion.
Identifying those change people, change champions. Okay. Let me ask you, as we You gave the example about, the telephone, the landline, how technology is changing exponentially. What's next? What do you see in the horizon 10 years out if this increases like this and continues? So we've got, predictive maintenance systems, AR, VR, we've got smart technology in lots of ways. What's beyond that? What should we be looking towards? So yes, we know a lot of the, let's say, old heavy industries still have a lot of ways to go, but especially if I know China, how China works, you're going to leapfrog pretty quickly in some other areas as well. What do you see, Professor?
Okay, you see beyond the AI, the VR, what happened next, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, now we have this Web 3.0, but that's a long way to go. From my point of view, it's just a long way to go.
Right.
So actually, I don't really want to emphasize the information, the advanced information. I think from the company's point of view, you don't need to always use this kind of the most sophisticated, most advanced information.
Mm-hmm.
Technology is just a tool. You use it as you need. Okay,
right.
Maybe the technology, maybe when it first come out, you don't really need to use it. You can wait a bit when it becomes a little bit mature and it's less risky. So, if from the company's point of view, I would say you don't really need to always search or capture up to seek for the most advanced technology. Okay. Yeah.
Good. I have a couple of specific questions with your example of Midea. I noticed in the graphs that 2010 seemed to be a pivotal year in the growth of the company. It seemed like why was in 2010 such a different trajectory for the firm in terms of numbers?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, when I visit that company, they told me a small story that is at that part, before that, the company earned the money and the revenue. The revenue increased very fast, but they increased the revenue by increasing the capacity. Okay, you build more and more factories and you sell more, and then you have more revenue. But at the end of the year, when they do the calculation, they will say, hey, if you look at the profit, it's not really the case because the margin keeps thinner and thinner. And for some orders, you even lose money. Okay, so it seems it's not a very sustainable way. Because when you earn money by expanding your capacity, you are assuming the market will keep increasing, right? So you can always sell the products you produce, but of course it's not the case. So they realized the developer mode they used to be is not a sustainable way. Now they want to focus on the margin. They didn't know how. We want to make sure we produce and we will make the money when we sell the product. This is why they want to have this kind of transformation. Okay.
So really a strategic mindset change in the leadership of the company more than anything else, right?
Yeah, actually, another thing is, at that, the production cost also keep increasing. Sure. The labor cost, the energy cost, all these things keep increasing. Yeah. At that time, they told me it's very, very difficult for them to find enough workers for the factory. Okay, so they just pay to their employees for them to find the new workers, and then they have around 3,000 RMB per person if you can find a worker. Yeah.
Thank you. How do you start Guillaume? How do you start the digital transformation process? It's always a daunting, especially for, again, a heavy industry. In this case, when we looked at Midea, it required quite a bit in order to get them to this mind shift.
Yeah.
Where do you start?
Yeah, and actually, this is exactly starting with my little example with the car, right? So re-understanding the underlying needs, that's really key. And that's, I think, what Midea did, is they understood where they want and how that aligned to the strategy. So they had a big vision. Then they made the steps to achieve this vision with small steps. And I think that the key to make it work. Is you essentially slice the elephant into small pieces that you don't break the operation. I think that's maybe one common fallacy that many companies have, is they start too big, and then when they fail, it fails really hard, and that actually impacts their overall operation. So start small, understand your needs, start small, then define steps and really have checkpoints along the way. So it's better to start with just a few pilots, a few proof of concept that you can really validate. Okay, I'm going in the right direction, or maybe, I made a mistake in the first assessment. Maybe some underlying assumption on my operation, on my IT landscape were wrong, and then I need to course correct. But it's not too late. I'm not, in a 5 million 1-year project. So I think that's the first thing. And then maybe also connecting back to the question of the change management. This kind of transformation needs to be considered as a change program. It's not just technology. It's not just putting a new software. As you just mentioned, it's often required to change the mindset, because it's changed how the people work together, and you have also a change in the process. And all this, it needs to be comprehended as a holistic program, where small steps, change management not to be forgotten, and you add layers of technology, as I showed in my purple paper example, rather than going for the whole shebang directly.
My work on this has shown that, when you talk about the culture or the mindset or the action, actually, culture follows action. So in this case, most firms need to make a decision. Maybe it's a pilot, maybe it's something big. Do it, and then get the people on board. You've got to have the right people, but first making that decision to say we're going to do it. That's the biggest single factor. We're just do it, right?
Show me what's in it for me, but in concrete. Some people, they need to see so to believe.
Exactly. Yes.
Exactly. Actually, I really agree with what you said about this. You need some concrete. Use some concrete number to have a showcase. Really we can do that, right? We start with a small part, like small BU, and then we show people we can do that, and we also get some experience what we need to fix it. In the main ideas case, also they do that. They first used it in the washing machine business unit, and then they expand to the whole companies.
So that was the case. I was going to ask that's where they started in that division as a pilot before they moved in, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Again, you can't. It's too big for most people to handle, and mentally and also physically to do it for the company. And so they chose. And why did they choose the washing machine division first? Do you know?
From what I heard from them, because in that machine they have kind of, in terms of IT system, in terms of the factory, they have the most advanced the technology, and also the people there. It seems, at least for the manager part, the high level part, they are really want to they are willing to be changed. Okay, this is why they picked that one.
So also the mindset, probably the willingness of even further mindset change and the ability to change was already there, right? They've already gone through some mini change along the way. Interesting.
They're willing to change the mindset, and also they have the ability to make the change.
Wow, interesting. I'm conscious of time, that people are getting at the end of the hour. I see people dropping out of the call, which is usual. Professor Chao, thank you very much for your insights from Shenzhen. Are you in Shenzhen today? Or Shanghai?
Beijing.
In Beijing.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your insights from Beijing. Guillaume, thank you so much for joining me here in the studio today. We look forward to seeing you all soon at one of our upcoming webinars. Thank you so much and have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.